So now that you have a graph, I'm going to show you what you can do with your trend line to get the linear equation and to use that linear equation to predict someone's height. So in the last video we didn't add the actual equation. So if we go back to our graph, we click on that arrow and choose Advanced Edit. We go back to the Customization tab, scroll all the way to the bottom where we found the trend line. Great. And so now where it says trend line linear, we have all these options for label. We want to do the label use equation. So now it's printed right there for us. Okay, so and I'm going to make my line a little bit thicker. So update your graph with that equation. So now here I am down below the graph. I'm just going to type in that equation. So I had to double click in that cell. So it's 2.869 times x plus 86.144. Okay. Now remember that x is for our x-axis, and that's right shoe length. Y is for height on our y-axis. So if I go and measure someone's shoe length, okay, so let's just say I'm going to measure, this is going to be their name. I'm setting up like a little chart here. Say we measure Mr. Thomas's shoe length. Okay, so shoe length. And let's just say Mr. Thomas's shoe length is 30 centimeters. I have no idea. I have not measured Mr. Thomas's shoe length. Now we want to predict Mr. Thomas's height. And so instead of having to punch this into our calculator, we want to be able to do this in the spreadsheet and repeat this formula multiple times each time we measure someone new. So we take this information here and we convert it into a formula for a spreadsheet. So we start our formula with equals, because essentially we're saying that height is y. So height equals, so y equals 2.869. Okay, so that's our multiplier. We have to add in this times symbol. And now we identify our x value. Our x value is going to come from this cell right here. And notice I just clicked on it and it immediately just put in D20. That worked out great. If I didn't want to click on it for whatever reason, I would have just looked up at my heading where it says D in the column. I'm in row 20, so it's D20. Now I add plus sign, 86.144. Once I hit enter, I get a height, 172.214. So that is Mr. Thomas's height, theoretically, in centimeters. Now we could find out his height in inches. If you remember from our conversions, we know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So if we want to convert our centimeters into inches, then we could take these these centimeters that we have here, and we divide that by 2.54, and that's going to give us height in inches. Okay? And then we remember from learning our conversions before that if we wanted height in feet and inches, we would have to take this value, 67, divide it by 12, and then figure out what we got as feet and convert that back into inches. But we also, hopefully you remember, there was a shortcut. Anytime we see 60 something inches, 60 equals 5 feet, so 5 feet, and then whatever's left over, in this case 7.8 would be our inches. Okay, and I'm obviously just forgetting about the rest of these numbers and rounding to 7.8 or almost 8 inches. So if we went to Mr. Thomas and measured his shoe length, we could predict his height, and we could convert it into inches, and then we could say, hey, Mr. Thomas, are you 5 feet and 7.8 inches? And he would be able to tell us, yes, you're very close, or no, you're way off. And so that is what you are going to do. You're going to choose someone, one of your teachers, someone else in the building, measure their shoe length, predict their height, convert it into feet and inches, and ask them how close you are. You're also going to do this same thing with their stride length, but notice it's a different formula. So you have to set up a separate chart, make a separate prediction for their height, and then you're going to find out which measurement is better at predicting their height, their shoe length or their stride length. And after you test this out on 4 or 5 people, you're going to do your analysis questions and answer which one you think is a better way of predicting height. So hopefully that explains what you need to do. One last thing, once you have your formula, you grab that corner and drag it down, and that will put in your formula for whatever is in front of this. Now, since we don't have any values here, it's counting it as 0. So the only thing that it's counting is the 86. So once you put in a number here, like say 25, that number will change. Okay, get to work.